Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're enjoying your summer, and if you're from south of the equator, I hope you're enjoying the end of your winter. I had to bring you guys outside today. It's just so beautiful here. I couldn't stay inside. So I wanted to talk about an important topic. This is something that one of my mentors in the business world talks about a lot, and I sort of learned this concept from him. His name is Blake LaGrange, and he's just amazing. He thinks about this stuff all the time, and it's very, very helpful business advice. But I started thinking about it, and honestly, it's just great life advice, and of course, great advice for furthering yourself as a musician. And the basic concept here is decisions versus strategy, okay? So I want to talk about that a little bit and how that can maybe transform the way that you organize your practicing, your goals for practicing, and the way you go about just trying to get better and gain more skills. So what's the difference between decisions and strategy? Well, if you think about a flow chart of what you're doing with music and how you practice. So let's say that you have like a practice plan, right? Decisions are the big things that go on top of the flow chart. You can think about a decision as something that's setting the tone for your practice at large, right? So your decisions are literally going to influence every single thing that you do in the practice room. Strategies are reserved for much lower down on the flow chart of our practicing, right? Strategies are going to change all the time. You know, they could change daily, they could change hourly, depending on some of the realizations that you're making while you're actually in the practice room, okay? So let's dive into it a little bit deeper. So what are some examples of decisions? Well, one that I've made in my life, which has made a huge difference in the way I am developing myself, in the way that I'm approaching the practice room, is that I've made the decision that I will always practice ear first, right? So not going to use that much written material in the practice room. I still do use some, but my big decision is that I am 70 to 80% of the time going to practice using my ear, right? So I've got to be able to hear it before I can play it. Now that's a big decision, right? Because now I know, okay, when I take out my horn and I start practicing, one of the big overarching things is, hey, you got to use your ear. So let's say I want to learn a song, right? Now that I've made that decision, I'm not going to go online and try to find a lead sheet for it. I'm not going to pull out a real book. I'm going to say, well, I've made the decision to learn this by ear. So now, in order to learn whatever song I want to learn, I'm going to use a recording instead of a written piece of music. Big decision, right? And then I can take strategies for learning the melody, and I can change them all the time. So maybe one strategy is, well, you know what? I kind of have this song in my ear already. So maybe I actually don't need the recording. Maybe I can actually just try to learn this melody from my oral memory. That's a strategy. I could try that. Now, let's say I start doing that and I realize, I don't really remember this song as much as I thought I did. My oral memory is not very strong with this particular melody. So now my strategy changes. Now I pull up a recording, okay? Those are two different strategies, but do you see how they all fit under the umbrella of the decision, right? Okay, here's another decision that you could make that I've made personally. I'm always going to be working on my technique on the saxophone. I'm always going to be trying to be a better saxophone player. And that makes sense, right? Saxophone is my vehicle for expression. So it makes sense that I would want to constantly be getting better at it. Sorry, I had to stop recording there for a second. There was some people that looked really freaked out that I was walking through the woods talking about jazz. It's not weird, right? I see people walking through the woods talking about jazz all the time. Anyway, so the decision is that I will always try to further myself on my instrument. So, because I've made that decision, every day I know I have to do something to further my technique on the saxophone. Now again, I could work on scales. That's a strategy. It's a really good strategy. I could work on arpeggios. Another strategy. I could play etudes. I could pull out an etude book and play that. That's a great strategy, right? And my strategies are always going to change with that, because once I get really, really, really good at a certain set of scales, the strategy will be to move on to something else, right? So you see, your strategies are like nimble, right? We can change those a lot and we don't have to feel bad about it. In fact, I think it's sort of a requirement to change your strategies all the time. But if you can sit down and make those big decisions, you might not be able to make them, right away. You may need help from a teacher. You may want to run them past somebody that you really trust. But think about, what are the big, big, big decisions that you can make that will provide you first principles for your time in the practice room, okay? It's not going to eliminate all frustration in the practice room, right? That's always going to be there. But what it will do is it'll give you sort of like a guiding light in the practice room, where you'll never really sit down in the practice room and go like, I'm just completely at a loss for what to do, right? You can always go back to those decisions and you can formulate a more strategic hour, 2 hours, 15 minutes in the practice room. And that's kind of the beauty. Once you've made the decision, it leads to and opens you up to a million different possibilities, because you're being guided by that decision. So try it. Let me know what you think. I know it's made a huge difference for me, and I know that it's made a huge difference for a lot of my students. So I would love to hear if you do this. Maybe come back to this video and let me know how it's going. If it helped you, let me know if it's stupid and you tried it and I've given you the completely wrong advice. Either way, I want to know. I want to know how this goes for you. So remember, strategies are nimble. Strategies change really, really often. They get tested, they get experimented. Don't be afraid to change those. But a decision, like I'm going to learn the majority of things by ear, that's huge. That could see you actually through the rest of your life and be a great decision to make. So let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.